Triggers and functions in Supabase are like this gun. So they work similarly how guns work. So for a gun, if you want to shoot a bullet, you will need two things. You will need the bullet and you will need the trigger. All right. So in Supabase, it's the same. We have triggers and bullets. But in Supabase, they don't call them bullets, they call them functions. So we have something that triggers the function to start. So I want you to keep this in mind because as you can see here, if we go to the database here in Supabase, if we go to triggers, we have a trigger. A trigger, you have to understand that a trigger is something that like keep an eye on a certain table. For example, this is always keeping an eye on the products table. So if something happened, if a product was updated or deleted or inserted, if anything happened in this particular table, then the trigger, what it does, exactly what the trigger does here is to launch the bullet. And now this trigger will launch a function, not a bullet, but a function. So this function, now what it does, so a bullet kills the target. This function goes to calculate. So what it calculates, for example, so here we have products management app or whatever, or personal group, whatever, call whatever you like. So here we have a home page. We have two buckets. We have setup and groceries. So if we go to groceries, we have like is it 10, 5, 20, 0. That's 35. So if I edit the price of bananas, for example, I make it 10, click on save, then as you can see, it has become 45. So that was like in real time, instantly. If I delete meat, then this will become 40. So this is how it works. So all the things that you have seen right now have been done by this trigger and this function. All right. Again, these are what we call server-side operations. So all this calculation is not happening in Flow. It's not happening in my app. And let me show you. When I edit, you see there's no calculation here, and even when on this component, there's no calculations. They just show update all of that. But the heavy calculation is being done by this function. This is the function that allows you to calculate the price after something changed. All right. So this update was done by this function. All right. So functions and triggers are sitting on the server doing their job. All right, this is one of the best ways to build products because some people think that all the operations should be on the front end, but Supabase is just telling you, hey, please bring some of your operations from the front end to me and make your app light, because if you add a lot of operations in your front end, your app becomes very slow. But if you add some of that on the server here on Supabase, then you leave some room for your app to become more lightweight, and it works just well. As you will see, we'll build it together, test it together. But you have to understand that the function the function is the one doing all this calculation, but the function doesn't work without a trigger. So keep in mind the analogy of the gun. The bullet doesn't launch by itself. It has to wait for the trigger. That is it. The trigger is keeping an eye on the products. If something happened, it launches the function and the function does its job. That's very simple. So in this video, we will learn exactly how to create a function using AI and also a trigger using AI. And we will see that together throughout this video. So make sure to watch until the end so you can learn something very useful. So the first thing we are going to be doing is to create the function that does the calculation. All right. So first of all, I have a very simple setup here. I have two pages, the home page where we show buckets, and here we have the products inside the bucket where we can edit them, and we will just change the price with that. So now when it comes to the function, you have to create it from the SQL editor. So here is the function, but don't worry, I haven't written this. I have not written it. I just explained the function that I want to Claude, and it actually generated that for me. So you can do it with Claude, Gemini, ChatGPT. So as you can see here, so let's actually copy it and go to SQL, and we will read it together so I can give you an idea of how this works. So we will not go in details. I even don't know this in details, but first of all, I have explained the tables I have. So whenever creating a function, the first thing that you have to tell to AI is to let it know what tables you have. So I told that I have, buckets and products. All right. So after telling it the tables you have and the columns inside that table, you have to tell it what do you want this function to do. So you have to do it, say, you have to tell it, hey, I want this function to do X, Y, and Z. So for me, the first part is that I wanted to actually, if a change happened, let's say somebody changed the price of a product, or he created a product or deleted a product. If any of these changes happened, then what? Then we have to actually, we have to go ahead, calculate the price of all the products, and then actually put them in the bucket full price. See here? So again, if anything happened, like so we have a bucket here. If anything happened to, like, either we have either changed the price of this product, or we have created a new one, or we have deleted this one, for example, whatever happens, we can, like, if anything happens, we have to calculate we have to always know the full price. So this is the actual function. This is what it does. So everything that I have said now, it depends. I don't have to write it down. I don't have to write a prompt for you that generated this for me, because your situation can be different from mine. But all in all, just use AI, explain what you want, tell it the tables you have, and tell it what you want your functions to do, and it will give you. So now once I have it, so I have run this particular prompt, and to make sure that it is working, you can go to functions here in database. You go to functions. In public, you can see update bucket full price. So now we have a function. Again, as I told you, you can easily go to Claude and just explain what you want briefly. You can say, hey, I have XYZ, and then you can go ahead and say, and I want a function that does ABC. All right, function that does ABC. So this XYZ means that you have to explain the table you have, and ABC means like what you want your function to do. So if you can, these are the only two parts you need to help to let AI generate a function for you. So after telling it, you can say give me a prompt I can use in SQL editor. All right, in SQL editor to generate this function. All right, so yeah, that's all you need. So here you have three parts. Tell it the tables you have and the columns inside that table. Not all the tables, just the tables that are related. So if you only need a function that requires two tables, just mention these two tables. Don't mention all the tables. Then tell it what you want the function to do. It has to do 1, 2, 3, and then you have to ask it, hey, please give me a prompt that helps me. Just a prompt that you can paste in SQL editor, and you will have a function. So now we have a function, but the thing is that this function requires a trigger, just like how we saw in the intro. This is like a gun. The bullet doesn't launch by itself. It needs the trigger. So this is where we have to learn how to generate a trigger, which is probably similar. So to generate a trigger, back here in SQL editor, and we'll copy this prompt this time. So go back to SQL editor, remove that, and then paste that. So then we click on run. Sometimes it will give you some errors, like the previous one when I generated the function is giving an error, but all I did was that I have clicked again on run. That's probably it. And if whatever problems you face, just paste it into Claude and it will tell you exactly what you fixed here. All right, so now we have a triggers. How to check that? We go to database and triggers. So again, this is the trigger. This is what will launch or shoot the function. The function can do the calculation, but it is just sitting right there. All right, the trigger is the one. So the trigger, what it does, the trigger basically goes and kind of keep an eye on like here, as you can see. Yeah, you see, after insert, update, or delete on products table. So he will this trigger will be watching the products table for whether a new product was inserted or a product was updated or a product was deleted. So if any of these happened, then this trigger will wake up and pick up the phone and call the function. Once it has called the function, then the function will go ahead and do the calculation. So these are the things. Again, the trigger is the one keeping an eye on the products table, and once something happened, whether update, delete, or create, it will actually trigger this function. And once this function is triggered, all right, then the calculation will happen and everything will be working just fine. All right, so now we have the trigger and we have the function. It's time now to test this to see if it is working, if it is going to work or not. So here we in the homepage, and we have groceries and we have my setup. So we go to groceries and you will find that we have 3 products, but we don't know the price of them until we click here. So I would much prefer to show them. So this is how it's gonna look like. So right now we have 0 because the sum of them is actually 0. So if I go here and maybe make this one 10, click, and after that I click on save, then as you can see here, the full price of the groceries was calculated because now it is 10. So we can come here at 5, and you see now it is 15. I can come here, I can just come here and in lemons we can go with 20, and you see the total here is 35. So it is like in real time. So this is the beauty of having a trigger and a function, because as I told you in the intro or at the beginning of the video, they all work in the server. Like they are not in the front end. They don't belong here. Yeah, they are on the server, and that's why they are fast. All right, that's why they are fast and fascinating. So we can go back to my setup again. See, it is 0, 0. We can go here, make it 1. I just made it just 0. So 100 is, you can see there. We can this one make it 52, 152. Yeah, but let's make this one, for example, 5. Now what we have seen is that when we update something, the full price will be calculated. But what if we delete? That's why I have added this. So I click on 5. So we have to see 5 removed from here. So remove it. So it is actually gone, and there you can see the changes. But the problem is that it takes some time. For example, I clicked here and then I can come back and then back to my setup, as you can see, only then for it to be shown. So we have seen already this problem before, and we can actually fix this by just in the icon that deletes the thing, you just add a rebuild page, because deletion requires to refresh the whole page. All right, so if we have done that, and as you can see here, we have another $5 item. If we remove it, this has to go. So we click here and you can see that it is being calculated very in real time. You can even remove that and you can see it is $100. So like, this is the beauty of all of this. Like, this is the beauty of having triggers and functions working with you. Like, there are people working for you in the server. There are they are doing server side work, and this just leaves the front end much lightweight. So in your front end, which is a flat flow, you don't have to calculate. Like, just imagine if you had to calculate that here, that would take some time, and so it is first complicated. Second, it's gonna make your app slow, and third, that's not where it belongs. Some functions has to stay, some processes has to stay on the server. That's why Supabase is generously providing us with functions and triggers. All right, but there is only one thing. If to just make sure that if you are doing this, just make sure that you go to the tables and just enable real time. Just it helps a little bit. So it's not that big, but try it. It worked for me even without real time, but I enabled that. So just try it out. So this is the end of this tutorial. So if you have actually any questions, you can go to the channel and click on community, and then whatever you have, like whatever question, anything, you can come here and ask. This is like a community open to everybody. As you can see, it is public. You can ask questions, give ideas, whatever that works for you, whatever like you want, you can do it just here. So I'm glad to invite you, so make sure to join, and if you have any questions or problems, I will be happy to answer that and make a video about it. So thanks so much for watching, and I will see you inside the next video.